good morning to you all. Welcome. Little secret, I've always wanted to be a rock star, realised I never will be, but let's try and start today like a rock show. So good morning, London. Not bad, not bad. Not quite as good as a Jon Bon Jovi audience, but well, you're halfway there. It doesn't get any better. You're not here for Jon Bon Jovi gags. You are here to hear about AI. And AI is all around us at the moment. It's enhancing things we already do online, from search to maps. It's enhancing our marketing campaigns. So why are we having half a day purely focused on AI now? Well, it's the pace of change, right? The pace of change of AI in the last year, the last 6 months, the last day even, has been incredible, particularly when it comes to generative AI. And it's that pace of change, if you're anything like me, can be exciting, fascinating, interesting, also a bit scary. And I wanted, before we kick off today we've got some absolutely fantastic speakers lined up for you, I just wanted to share 3 lessons that I've learned whilst working at the IAB when it comes to new technology and how to talk about it and how to convince people about it that I wish I'd known when I started my career at the IAB, because I think it's really relevant to how we think about AI and how you might think about AI when you leave today. So the first one is you need to take a big step back. And my first job at the IAB was as head of mobile, and I was employed to try and persuade brands to invest in mobile technologies, build mobile sites and apps, ultimately spend in mobile advertising. But at the start, really, it was just to convince them that this new technology was going to have an impact on them. And it was quite hard to persuade people about that. It seems daft now, given mobile phones dictate our lives. But it's really hard. Some things seemed obvious that were going to happen. It seemed obvious that mobile would start to control how we spend our time in media, how we entertain ourselves, how we're searching for things. Other things, it was impossible to know. So don't think you're ever going to have all of the answers, because you never will. But you need to take a big step back and think about all of the ways that AI might affect you or your business. In mobile, there were things that I could never have predicted that happened, both in terms of to us as people, but also to our businesses as well. To us as people, I never would have predicted that orthopedic centres would have to start offering treatment for selfie elbow. I mean, treatment because people spending all day long taking selfies that their elbow hurts. So there's actual treatment now available for selfie elbow. That's something I never would have predicted. For businesses as well, I'm convinced that Wrigley's were not thinking when the iPhone came out, oh my God, we've got a problem here. This is going to really affect our sales. But it did. This is chewing gum sales from the launch of the iPhone, or smartphones really, and how they've declined over time. Anyone know why? I didn't hear what that was. Pocket space, that's it, yeah, good thought. It's the theory that no, but yeah. The main reason is this, right? We've gone from a world of queuing with our heads up, making spontaneous purchases, to queuing with our heads down, looking at our iPhones. There's no way Wrigley's would ever have thought about that. So I think it's just an example that you need to take a big step back when you're thinking about how technology might impact you. The next thing is, it's easy to leave it until it's too late. And this is because of exponential growth. Many new technologies grow exponentially, right? And we've just lived through COVID, where we had Chris Whitty talking to us every day about exponential growth. Even though we've just lived through something growing exponentially and we've lived through technologies growing exponentially, it's still really hard as a human to get your head around how quickly things can grow when they grow exponentially. There's a good example, and it's used often to explain this, which some of you may have heard, but it goes like this. The inventor of chess gives the game to the king, and the king's blown away, thinks this is a marvellous game. And says to the inventor, how can I repay you? The inventor of chess, smart person, understands exponential growth and says, King, I'd like you to give me 1 grain of chess on the first square of my chessboard, then double it to 2 grains on the second square, then double it again to 4 grains on the third square, double it again to 8 grains on the fourth square, and so on until every square is filled up and you've doubled it every time. The king says, no problem. That's the least I can do for such a marvellous game, and goes away, and then has to calculate how much rice to give the inventor. I'm sure someone in here probably knows the answer, but any guesses how many grains of rice that needs to be? How many grains of rice the inventor would end up with? Somebody shout out a number. A lot. Whoever said a lot is correct. It's actually 18.4 quintillion grains of rice. To be honest, before I did this, in fact, even now, I don't know what a quintillion is, but it's a lot of rice. If you're like me and want to visualize it in some way, actually, it's the same size as Mount Everest. If you stacked all the rice together, it's more rice than the entire global production for a year. It's so hard to get your head around the concept of rapid change when things are growing exponentially. We saw exactly the same in mobile as well, where businesses wait. They waited until mobile penetration and mobile advertising was, they saw it grow from 5% of the industry to 10% to 20%. And then people think, well, this is kind of interesting now, maybe we should do something. But the problem is then it goes to 40%. And then after that, it's too late. So if you wait for too long, it will be too late. But you're here today, so you're obviously not leaving it too late. So kudos. The last thing is about change and how we interpret change as humans. And you know what? We find it kind of hard. So my advice is don't think me versus AI. Think me plus AI. Change can feel threatening. And this really, again, I think I really kind of understood this most when I spoke to a psychologist who we were working with at the IAB. We were doing a project on something slightly different. And I was saying to him, actually, one of the things I really struggle with is to convince people that mobile is going to have an impact in the world and on their business. And he started talking to me about how I was pitching it to people and how I was selling it to them. And actually, what his advice was, actually, John, what you're saying to people is they're going to interpret that as what you're doing is wrong, you need to do something differently. And that questions people's fundamental beliefs about how they've earned their money, how they're paying for their family. We just can't process it as humans. We can't cope with that level of change and that level of threat to us. And actually his advice was, don't tell people what they're doing is wrong, they need to change it. Tell them what they're doing is great, but think about adding mobile on top. So the only way I can kind of get my head around AI is thinking me plus AI. And I would advise you, it's a much better way to think about it for your businesses as well. Don't just think, how is AI going to create problems for our business, but think about how AI can enhance what you do as individuals and as businesses. It's already making a massive difference to our lives. There's no way you could run a big marketing campaign online without using AI, and it's only going to make things even better. So there's my 3 pieces of advice before I hand you over to the AI experts for today. Make sure you take a big step back. You're never going to predict everything that's going to happen. So don't lull yourselves into a false sense of security thinking that you will. It's easy to leave it until it's too late. I don't for 1 minute suggest that you leave and drop everything and only ever do things on AI. But the biggest risk is waiting until it's too late, so don't do that. And the last thing is think me plus AI, not me versus AI. We've got an incredible morning of speakers today. I'm going to hand you over to David from Contagious in a second, who will talk to you about how he's talking to brands about AI at the moment. But enjoy yourself, and I look forward to seeing you later on. Thank you very much.